Hello, welcome to the live stream. It is Kim. I'm glad to be here with you tonight. What is going on? We're just ending a really crazy heat wave here in the Bay Area, so it's not incredibly sweltering for the first time today. It's still hot, but it's a little better. So I'm not as last week I couldn't even think. I was so hot. As you noticed, I had to flee the live stream when I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm too hot. Anyway, so I'm happy to be here with you tonight for a little bit. If you have questions, if you want to make a comment, if you want me to talk about something, just put it in the comments and I will see it. If you would do me a favor and like and share this stream, that would also be awesome. What else is going on? I've been thinking, so some things have come up in my coaching this week, and I thought I would start by talking about those things, which is um, having to make a shift in terms of like what feels fair uh, and what is, if that makes sense, right? Like I spent a lot of my life using food, right? Like uh what do I want right now? What am I thinking about? What am I craving? Like I was sort of my life was dictated a lot by the kinds of foods that I wanted to eat and being entertained by them and that kind of stuff. And then I went keto, changed that up, but I still didn't really let go of my attachment to the food. Like, I changed the types of foods that I ate, but I still sort of had, like, an attachment to food filling some inner needs that I had, and then over time, I had to sort of make a call in my life where I'm just using myself as an example because 'cause I'm here and I'm the one talking. But I had to make a call that, like, my commitment to my goals had to be more important than some of my desire for choices and certain things, if that makes sense. And I had to let go. I think this is what I really think is important. I had to let go of the part of me that felt like that was unfair or unfun or like just not what I wanted, right? Um because I spent like a lot of my life feeling like envious of people that had an easier time of weight loss than I did. And so hopeful I'm like I look like a quizzical dog right now because I'm kind of trying to figure out what I'm trying to say to you guys. But there was a lot of my life where I was very envious of other people who I felt like had an easier time in the world of around food. And I was talking this week about the fact that like I never really felt that envy in other areas. Like like I have big feet, right? I have like hold my foot up. I have big feet. I have size 11 feet. And some of you might be like, that's not that big, right? But it's big enough that before, like in my childhood, I couldn't buy shoes easily because now they have that size shoe more often. But when I was a kid, it was like rarely stocked. Okay. And so that was a problem. And like that was a bummer. Like, I would feel frustrated by that at the shoe store, but I wasn't, like, envious of other people's feet. Like, it wasn't this it didn't have, like, an emotional the size of my feet did not impact me emotionally, right? Compared to, like, the size of my ass, right? The size of my body, right? Um, or, like, there are very wealthy people out there in the world with a lot more money than me, and though there's a part of me that's like, "Well, that would be nice." And, like, do I lament the fact that buying a house in California where I live is out of my budget because I don't have, oh, I don't know, several $1,000,000 in my bank account, right? Like, because you have to buy cash. Anyway, it's a long story about real estate. And, like, does it irk me? Does it feel awful? Does it feel unfair? Right? Like, but does it make me feel anything, like, personally? No. Like, that's not, but the weight stuff and the food stuff, very different. And so it's like, gosh, why do I respond? Or, like, I don't know, I don't wanna be a blonde, but if I wanted to be, if I thought blonde hair was more attractive than brunette hair and I'm distinctly not blonde, would I feel like, would I have feelings about it? Right? Like, I objectively know I'm not the most I feel it. I'm not saying that I don't think I'm attractive, but I objectively can look at Hollywood starlets and think, like, I feel like a different species than that person. Like, just they are so pretty, right? But am I, do I feel, like, bad about, like, I don't have, like, it doesn't hit me in that, like, deep place the way that my feelings about food and weight did. Anyway, it was just a perspective. And so I feel like for me to be at least as successful as I am about food, like, I had to let go of the fairness thing and just get right with reality, right? Like, I can't act like a person who's a multimillionaire and not expect to have horrendous consequences, right? So I can't act like a person with a different metabolism than me and not expect horrendous consequences. And so that was kind of like that was a mental shift that I made that feels like my whole world changed when I was able to get in, like, better alignment. I'm not saying I don't have thoughts or feelings, but, like, better alignment with that. Anyway, so that was what I was thinking about this week. Um, Sylvia asked, "What do I think of probiotic, prebiotic supplements? Yes or no?" Well, it's an interesting question. So let's talk about it. Probiotic and prebiotic supplements feed different gut bacteria, right? Gut bacteria, very important. Um, I go back to a study when I start to think about these. Okay, I can tell you probiotic and prebiotics are important, but do we need a supplement is a different question, right? So, collagen is a I might get wrong if it's pre or pro, but it is, I think it's a prebiotic. Um, Certain types of leafy greens, vegetables, even some fruits, like different fermented foods, all that stuff, they have pro and prebiotic effects. So do I think we should be getting some pro and prebiotics in our diet? Yes. That's how our gut works. These things help us with our digestion. Um, do I think we need to take a supplement? Maybe, maybe not. So there was a study done quite a while ago. It's an older study where, because one of the things that happens, right, is when we take antibiotics, which you should if you need them so you don't die. I'm not saying anything bad about antibiotics, but antibiotics, they kill the bacteria in our gut. And some of it specifically, and because what an antibiotic does is it kills off various bacteria. But it doesn't know what bacteria we, no, I want to keep that. Like, no, that's a weed, right? Like, it doesn't do careful gardening. And so we need to, it kills off some of the beneficial bacteria. And so then they've done a study where they've looked at if giving people probiotics while they're on antibiotics or in the aftermath helps them reseed their gut bacteria better. And what they found is some people felt so much better when they took these probiotics along with the antibiotics, and some people their symptoms were much worse. And so the answer kind of became, it depends. And in this study, if I remember correctly, they couldn't figure out why it worked. It helped some and it hurt some. And so that kind of became a thing where I said, I think this is very bio individual. And it's really hard to predict what will work best for you. And so, this is an area where I think the answer is it depends. And if you're somebody that um, thinks that you could use some gut help, right? Like maybe you have constipation or diarrhea, or like you're suffering some gut stuff. Um, I would try and see, right? I would say, okay, I'm going to try this probiotic and I'm going to see if there seems to be benefit. And if after 60 days I feel worse or I don't feel different, or right, I would then say, I don't think this is necessary for me. But I would also say that if you haven't first gone to see things like, do I eat sauerkraut? Like good sauerkraut, not the fake sauerkraut. It has to be refrigerated for there to be active bacteria in it. And if it was cooked and just put jarred, it's you might like it for the taste, but it doesn't have the probiotic. Do I eat like probiotic pickles? Again, fermented, not cooked, right? Those kinds of things will do have those elements in them. So I would go to food first. I'm a food first kind of person. And then if I then felt like maybe let's see if a supplement would be of benefit. I don't think for most people there's a lot of harm in trying it out and seeing if they get benefit. That's what I would do if it were me in my life. Um, if you have like histamine issues, don't do the probiotic. Don't do the fermented foods. They're higher in histamines, but I don't think most people have histamine problems. So, Kelly asked, as I get closer to my goal weight, sometimes I wonder what's my identity if I'm not the person who's always trying to lose weight. What's my new goal? Am I happy now? That is a really important question to ask yourself, Kelly. And I've heard people say this, and I think it's definitely true that maintenance is actually almost more mentally challenging than weight loss. I'm not saying weight loss is easy. God, no, I'm not saying that at all. But maintenance is boring, right? And those of us that have spent our life in the washing machine of hating ourselves, or you don't have to go so far as hating yourself, but like that washing machine of like, I'm changing, I'm losing weight, I'm being different, I have a new goal, I have a new approach, that it's very active, it's very interactive. There's like action, result. You're guessing and checking, is this going to help with weight loss, is that going to help, right? And so when you do that, you are in a time that's a little more engrossing than when you get to maintenance. And maintenance can be a time when people just regain a lot of weight because almost of that boredom of it, and they get complacent. And so for me, one of the things that as I'm now in maintenance, that's where I'm like, am I in maintenance? Like, would I like to weigh 5 pounds less? But like, basically, I'm in maintenance, right? Like, I have lost over 120 pounds and I'm basically in maintenance. And sometimes I decide I have like a fitness goal or a goal to like, well, what would it look like if I was 5 pounds less? But it's not hundreds of pounds anymore, right? And so, for me, though, I have to look at maintenance as just as active an endeavor as weight loss. I'm still tracking. I still like not I'm not saying this is the only way to do it. I'm just saying like my maintenance. I still track, I still pay attention. I still try to have new goals, right? Like now my goal is more about making sure I'm lifting weights and working out more and things that maybe I didn't have as much attention for before. And so I think the trick for me is I think you're asking yourself really important questions, but you're exactly right. What's my new goal? Right? It has to be just as active a process as weight loss. Rita says, I was reading that vitamin C helps get rid of visceral fat. What's my thought on this? I don't know much. I don't have a thought on that because I don't know much about the research around it. I am a big fan of vitamin C, I will say. There was a time when I was keto and then carnivore, and I didn't focus on much on vitamin C. And I actually do think that carnivores, because you're not abusing your glucose pathways, your need for vitamin C might be lower, or I would say is lower, right? But I actually have found through my own testing, I do better overall on a higher vitamin C diet. So while I could meet my minimum vitamin C requirements on carnivore, so I was not like going to get scurvy or have the really negative side effects, I found that my metabolic health overall was better when I included more fruits and veggies, and my vitamin C levels were higher. And I also found that when my vitamin C levels were lower, I had higher levels of uric acid. Those things actually can counter each other pretty well. And so for me, I was better at a higher vitamin C level. That was just what I found through trial and error and guessing and checking. Um, Rita says, "Do I take a supplement?" I take a daily vitamin, and I think there's vitamin C in that. But mostly I get my vitamin C from food. I eat a low carb diet at this point, so I eat lots of fruits and vegetables. And I put lemon on things. I eat bell peppers. I eat Yeah, so I just get vitamin C in my diet. I don't seek out specifically a vitamin C supplement, although as I said, I think there's a bit of vitamin C in the multivitamin I take, which is from Thorne, Thorne. So there is vitamin C in that. But mostly the change has mostly been food based for me. Um, Jennifer says, "Can you start doing ketone after fasting 18 more hours?" I think you might be asking me about keto, right? Um, so are you asking, so if you fast for 18 hours and then you start eating a ketogenic diet, or are you asking me if you produce ketones after an 18-hour fast? I'm going to try and answer this in multiple ways. So if your question was, will you be in ketosis after an 18-hour fast? I don't know about everybody because we're all a little different. So I can't say if you will or you will or you will, but most people will have started producing ketones after an 18 or longer hour fast. For the average healthy person, so someone who is metabolically healthy, that it's usually most people will be in ketosis after even a 12 to 13-hour fast. Now, if somebody is significantly insulin resistant, that time will be extended. They will be less likely to be in ketosis. Sorry, bangs are a constant struggle. You will find that the more insulin resistant somebody is, the less likely or the longer it will likely take them to get into ketosis. Um, so if that was the question, that's the answer. If the question was, should you do a fast before you start keto? Nah, I wouldn't. I would just start eating in a ketogenic way. And what do I mean by eating in a ketogenic way? Reducing your carbohydrates below around 20 grams of total carbs, eating a little bit higher fat than the average person because you're essentially replacing carbs with fat for energy. And so you're eating whole foods, you're eating meat and a little bit of low carb veg maybe, and you're cutting out sugar, you're cutting out processed foods, you're cutting out bread, you're cutting out grains. So if you're asking, should you fast before you eat in a ketogenic way, I would say no, just start eating in a ketogenic way. If you generally fast for 18 or more hours and that suits you right now, then that's fine as well. You can start by fasting and then go into a ketogenic way of eating. So I'm just answering that in a couple ways to hopefully hit what question you were asking. The written word, sometimes it's hard. Sorry, the sun is streaming from the side. It's sometimes hard to understand exactly what people are asking. This is not a perfect medium, the questions, but hopefully that hit on one of the things you were looking for. You're welcome, Jennifer. So yeah, do I take supplements? I'll go further with Rita's question just to answer it. I do take supplements. Like I said, I take a multivitamin and then I take a few specific vitamins based on things that I know that I struggle with. So, um, and I only actually take a multivitamin when I feel like I need it, and what makes me feel like I need it versus not feel like I need it. If I'm in a caloric deficit, if I'm trying to lose weight during this period of time and I know that I'm not eating as much as I might if I'm not trying to lose weight, I add in a multivitamin just to cover my bases during that time, because sometimes I'm like, I don't know that I'm eating as much to get all the variety of things that helps me feel as good as I do. Um, and I think that's individual to people, right? Like if you think about the proper human diet, right? We're all on a spectrum of what works best for us. And I think proper human diet is a spectrum, right? It goes in both directions. Some people think of it as a pyramid, right? Where like carnivore is at the top and then keto, or ketovore and then keto and then low carb, right? But it's not. Like we're somewhere on the spectrum. And for some people, what works best for their body, their genetics, their history is going to be carnivore. For some people, it's going to be low carb. For some people, it's going to be keto, right? And it's about finding your place on that map rather than it's not like stepping up a pyramid to the pinnacle. And so for me, my like genetics seem and my history, like everything seemed to line up that like all things were better suited over here in this category. And so I've tried every place along the spectrum and like I was like, oh, but it's here. And so that in that place, I found that I am somebody, and like I said, not like I know carnivores who don't need to supplement at all, even though they get much less of a varied diet than I do. But for whatever reason, my genetics, my place where my ancestors come from, I don't know. I do better with a big spectrum of of diet. So my spectrum, though, certain foods still don't fit on my continuum, that don't benefit me, I should say. Like they don't harm me outright from a single episode, but regular use of certain foods are not of benefit to me. You know what foods I might mean. They usually have a pastry involved. Um, Rita says, "Did I find my belly fat harder to lose?" Yes, I am a apple, right? I am. I From the time I was like 6 or 7, that kid belly that kids get before they get hips, like girl kids. Um, I just always kept that belly. So I always had kind of an apple shape. I actually have like fairly significant hips as well, but so I wasn't that like skinny leg, skinny arm, belly person, which is one body type. I was just kind of like round, but I do have a belly. And I don't know. Like I do it does go in, but if you but below here there's still a little bit of a belly. Um like and so that still exists. I'm not like I don't have a belly at all. I'm totally a flat in the front. No, like there's still like some belly fat there. Um uh and and so yes, I have found the belly fat the hardest to lose. Um uh and so I try and keep like a realistic standard on my body. I have like a normal BMI and I have a little bit of roundness and I have loose skin. I have loose belly skin too, like that kind of hangs down a little bit because I used to weigh 120 pounds more and that was more filled with fat, and now it's sort of a little bit and so I try very hard not to have like a I'm 48 and I've weighed almost 300 pounds in my life. My belly is not going to look like a Baywatch belly. Even if I got down to incredibly low body fat, which is not going to happen. But right. So like having a realistic expectation of the range of what a healthy belly might look like is important. Do I wish I could snap my fingers and have like really a flat belly? I would love that. That'd be awesome. Right. But I also try and stay realistic about it. Um, and I've got loose skin in lots of places. I got loose skin under my arms. My thighs kind of have loose skin on them. I mean, it's just a thing. So that I'm just cataloging my faults, but but to your answer, yes, belly hard to lose. For me to have like no, I mean, you always have some belly fat, right? Like it's healthy to have some belly fat. But for me to have like a truly flat belly, I would probably need to be like in the teens in terms of body fat, and I that's not going to happen. That would require like a level of effort that I'm not going to be having. Um, so so I guess, I guess I don't know, Rita, I don't know that this is what you meant, but in my own brain, I will tell you, like, when you weigh 300 pounds or close to, like I was like whisper distance, right? You kind of have this idea that when you lose, like I thought if I got under 200 pounds, I would have a flat belly or like reasonably, you know what I mean? And like sometimes I see people out there in the world that are that, and I'm like, whoa. You know, but as I've lost weight, I've gotten like a little more, I've had to get like a little more realistic about what is that going to look like? Like I now weigh a weight that I honestly never thought I would weigh as an adult. Um, and like I mean like this low. I mean, um, and if you'd asked me back then, like what I would look like at this weight, it would not be what it looks like at this weight when I take my clothes off. I tell you that. But that's the reality of losing your weight in your 40s or 50s or 60s or 70s, right? That skin does skin things. And that some body fat is somewhat normal. And now I'm going on a bit of a rant, I think. But uh, so yes, my belly held on to fat. Well, not my whole belly, but actually the area between my boobage and my waist, which is called the android. And then the area between your belly button and your hips is called your gynoid. I don't know. So my android is actually pretty lean. That like under boob to waist is has very little fat on it. But then the gynoid, the like belly button below area, that's a little poochy. That's healthy. That's a healthy distribution. And so I have just kind of accepted that for me to lose that little poochie there is going to require me to be so lean that the rest of me would be weird. So I just have accepted that I have a certain body. I have tried to come to terms with I have a certain accepted makes me sound like I'm Mother Teresa. I have worked to come to terms with the body that I have. There you go. And I have considered plastic surgery. I'm still considering plastic surgery because I am aware that for me to lose more, to get a flatter belly, like I've also, because I had a lot of belly fat, I have a little bit of what they call a bee belly, right? Which means I've got kind of like a floop of skin and then another, so like it makes a little bee. Um, because of how I gained my weight and then when I lost it, it just all got smaller. But it's still there's a little bit of a the top half of a bee, a small one, but it's still like around my belly button. And so Spanx are fabulous. And but if I know that if I want to flatten that little configuration out and get rid of the part that kind of hangs down a little bit, surgery is what I will have to do. And so, that's just like how much does it bother me question. I feel like I've gotten very real here. Anyway, um, so Deb asks, how tall am I? I am a hair, like a hair, under 5'9". I'm 5'8" and like 7/8. So if I'm wearing shoes with any kind of shoe to it, I any kind of heel to it, I'm 5'9". The reason I say that so carefully is I like to say that I'm 5'9", but if I'm really going to be honest, it has to be a very good posture day for me to register fully 5'9". But I'm not 5'8" and a half. I'm above that. So almost 5'9". Uh, so so yeah. And then the funny thing about that was I was mostly this height by the time I was 10. So that's part of why I feel like I'm a moderately tall person, but I feel like I must be a very tall person because like my identity was the tall kid. And so yeah. So I was the tallest girl for a long time, and then like the 5'10" girls shot past me, and I was very jealous of that. I have a relative who's a teenager who doesn't like how tall she is, and I don't get it. I was like, tall, more, taller. I mean, maybe like if I got up to the 6 foot mark, I'd start to be like, that's enough. Um, but I like being taller anyway. Um, Sorry, I'm starting to get hot because it is not cool. I'm just maybe it's a hot flash. I don't know. Jennifer says how to stay being a fat burner and not a sugar burner. Um, well, if you want to stay a fat burner, being in ketosis is going to be the best way to go about it. You're going to burn more fat. Your body's going to use fat as its main fuel source. And so staying in a state of ketosis is probably your best way to maintain the fat burning over sugar burning capabilities. Deb says that's a nice height. I'm 5'4". Yeah, I I am aware there is tall privilege. I am aware that that there is sort of a benefit to being a taller human. It is it just like we I think we all know, right? It's like what are celebrities? They're thinner, they're taller, they're whatever. So all those things are a little more valued in society. I got the tall thing. It did not get the thin. Anyway, that one I have to attempt to work at. Um anyway. All right. Any other questions before I wrap it up and get in a cool shower to cool off? We don't have air conditioning. So the past week of it being 90 inside my apartment has been interesting. There's been a lot of fans, there's been a lot of trying to find the breeze. I take drives every once in a while because the car has air conditioning. Anyway. All right, guys. All right, we'll call it a night. You guys have a great week. I'll be back next Tuesday. Sayonara.